Welcome back. Joining us now is the editor of the Irish Medical Times, Dara Gantly, pharmacist Liz Hoctor, and Brian Murphy from the Irish Pharmaceutical Healthcare Association. Liz, you're a pharmacist, and the pricing of drugs seems to be horrendously complicated. If I go into my local shop and I buy a package of biscuits, the retailer bought it off the wholesaler, who bought it off the manufacturer, everybody marks it up a little bit along the way, and it's all quite simple and relatively transparent. When I go into the chemist to buy a prescription drug, what is the pricing mechanism?
Well, the pricing mechanism in Ireland is actually very similar to the one that you just outlined already. There is a wholesale markup on medicines. The pharmacy also charges a markup on medicines. What may seem a little bit complicated is the reimbursement system. The reimbursement system for you as a patient so that you don't have to pay too much for your medicines. 3 out of 4 of every medicines that pharmacists dispense in Ireland are dispensed on a medical card scheme. On that scheme, there's absolutely no markup, and the patients receive their prescription from their doctor free of charge, and they also receive the medicines free of charge. Since the 1st of October, they've had to pay a 50-cent levy on every item. Then for the other 1 in 4 medicines that are dispensed, they're dispensed on the drugs payment scheme. And this is a family-based scheme, and the amount that you pay for your medicines in the month is capped at €120. For patients who don't reach that threshold of €120, they're what we term as private patients. And then the markup that the pharmacists charge is a matter for the pharmacist's discretion. But when we look at pharmacy in Ireland, when you look at what happens when you go in with your prescription to your local pharmacist, the first thing they do is they check that prescription for you. They check to make sure, is that the right medicine for you? Is that medicine safe for you? Are there any interactions? Is it the right dose? Is it the right strength? Is it the right formulation? What by that I mean is, if you can't swallow tablets, we'll give you a liquid. And then we make sure that there's no interactions with any of the medicines that you're on, that you're not allergic to it. And we perform all of those safety checks, and then we give you the medicine, we tell you what you can expect from that medicine, and we tell you what to do if the medicine isn't working.
Okay, so there's added value there. But just going back to this thing off the medical card, now it's free of charge obviously to the person buying it. Are you saying that you get no markup when you sell a drug to a medical card holder?
When we dispense a prescription to a medical card patient, the pharmacist receives absolutely no markup, and they receive a fee that ranges from €3.50 to €5, a flat fee. So if that medicine costs the pharmacist €100 to buy from the manufacturer, we would still only receive a fee of €3.50. And for that €3.50, we have to provide all of those services that I just outlined to you, perform that safety check. Is it the right dose? Is it the right strength? Is it the right medicine for you? And record all of that, and then offer you the advice on how to take your medicine.
So the $3.50 is, we'll say, the profit to you.
It's the entire income that the pharmacist earns to provide the premises, to pay the staff wages, and to provide you with a service. And the average pharmacy is open 60 hours a week, 6 or 7 days a week.
Okay, Brian Murphy, you represent the companies that actually make drugs. Now, this price that is set, which accounts for 3 out of 4 of drugs sold, how is that price set?
It's the ex-factory price, the price at which we make it available into the supply chain, is set by reference to the price in 9 other countries in Europe, including Spain. So it's an average of those 9 countries across Europe that the product is made available to the Irish health services. And in fact, since the agreement that we entered into in 2006, products under that arrangement have their prices reviewed every 2 years. And very recently, on the 1st of November, as a result of that realignment exercise, and we would have had a number of products come down in price. So Irish prices would work out at, like, while some will be above the average, others will be below the average, but they are the average of these 9 countries across Europe, including Spain and the UK.
Right, but it's the same drug. It's sold, say, in these 9 different countries, all at different prices. Why is it sold at a different price in every country in the first place? How is that price set?
Well, I think there are different reimbursement systems. Liz has spoken a bit about it, and that does affect how the prices are set in different countries.
So is that just where you negotiate a price in each country, and it's up to that country's central system to negotiate the best price?
I think what you'll find with most products, certainly in recent years, is that the prices from the manufacturer are actually coming to almost a standardised point. There would be what we would call a fairly narrow price corridor. So in other words, the prices in Germany as against the prices in the UK or the prices in Ireland might vary, but you're talking maybe 4 or 5%. That's the sort of range. Now, going back on older products, there would have been bigger differences in place, and that would have been to do with all sorts of things that would have been in place in various countries going back 10, 15 years.
OK, and then generic brands. Obviously, you don't want these guys coming in selling their pill that does the same thing for a much cheaper price. What's your position on those?
Well, there is a role for generics. Of course, they don't sell at a much lower price.
They do?
No, sorry. In this country, for most of this year, those products have been more expensive than the products coming from the research-based industry, almost unique in the world. That has been the situation. They have now, under a new agreement with the state, agreed to supply their products at the sum total of 2% below the price at which we supply our products.
Darragh Gantly, Irish Medical Times. Who's the bad guy here then?
I don't think there is a bad guy. I mean, what Brian says is accurate in a sense that I think in February this year there was a new deal with IFA that brought down branded drugs by about 40%, and that was on about a 300 range of products.
But who's doing the negotiating? Like, OK, that price is coming down, but it's down from a very high base, and we're still way above these other countries.
It is coming down from a high base. I think what, and it's actually going to go down further as well. What Brian actually mentioned as well about the generics being more expensive. I think that was only really for a very short period of time, and that was really just because negotiations were ongoing. So that doesn't take place anymore. I think what Liz is mentioning as well is in terms of the markup. I think for private patients, I think Ireland is seen as an expensive country. I think Ireland and Belgium and Germany would be at the top. And there was a study from Norway just this year, I think, which I think says the markup for the pharmacy in Ireland at around 40-odd%, where in Norway it's only about 18%.
OK, so Liz, on those private patients, OK, you're maybe not getting much on the medical cards, but are the private patients compensating for the medication you're selling for free on medical cards?
I think all from what comes across is that people say I went to Europe and my medicines were cheaper because I bought them in Europe. But yet when PricewaterhouseCoopers carried out an analysis of the income that pharmacies in Ireland make and compared to the income that pharmacists make across Europe, our income was in line with that. It's not that Irish pharmacies were making a much greater income. It's the fact that the reimbursement system in countries like Europe is very different. They don't get a flat fee of €3.50. Their flat fee is closer to €12.
Dara, I'm completely confused now. So the pharmacists aren't earning any more money. Brian says his guys are negotiating a fair price. Why are we paying this big markup?
Well, I think what's key is why the government as a whole is paying. I think it's nearly $2 billion a year for medicines. That's our bill from the government and from.
So is this down to the Minister for Health to negotiate a better price?
She's going about it in a some would say a methodical way, others would say not fast enough. There is legislation being drafted in the Department of Health for what's called reference pricing and also generic substitution. So there are two big things which hopefully we might see come in next year. Reference pricing would be quite radical and would affect the manufacturers quite substantially.
So there is good news for Irish consumers.
If the legislation gets through, we should see lower costs, but I should also see.
Actually, the legislation has already been passed.
I have to leave it there, but it sounds like perhaps the situation will improve. So my thanks to Liz, Dara, and Brian for joining me this evening. Coming up, one woman's life and death story about surviving her time in care.